Alright, what's up guys? Super excited today. We are doing Zombie World. This is one of my very favorite decks. Really fun control deck, or I guess, yeah, it is basically a control deck. But this is one of my favorites. Tons of combos in this video. I've been working on this one for quite some time. Banlist just happened and this deck didn't get hit at all. It has no impact whatsoever on the deck. Let's get started. First of all, we play 2 copies of Doom King Balderok. This is like the boss monster of the deck, although we do use the extra deck somewhat, so the extra deck monsters are pretty impactful too. But basically, Doom King Balderok is insane. If you have if a field spell is on the field, so either yours or your opponent's, so even if your opponent pops your zombie world, he's still good. During the standby phase, if there's a field spell on the field, you can special summon this in defense mode from your graveyard. That is a super duper good effect because it reoccurs itself every single standby phase. That is a hard once per turn, but it's totally fine because it's a free monster every single standby phase. Secondly, this card also has an effect where if a zombie monster activates an effect, you can either banish one zombie monster on the field or negate that effect, which either of them are really good because you are running Zombie World. So all monsters on the field and in both graveyards will be zombies. Basically every single monster is going to be a zombie, so it's basically you get every single turn one negate and one non-targeting banish. The non-targeting banish is absolutely amazing because it can get rid of things like Dragoon, because again it does not target, and of course it can get rid of stuff in the graveyard. It's just an extraordinarily good effect. You basically get 2 interruptions every single turn. Also, during your turn, you can activate your own zombie effects to trigger this so that you can continue to banish your opponent's monsters. Very good card. Best boss monster in the deck. One of the greatest boss monsters ever printed in a structure deck. This card is very good. Next, we play 2 copies of Necro World Banshee. This basically searches your copy of Zombie World. You want to get Zombie World on the field as quick as possible. You don't want to waste any time. This card is very good for that. Basically, if it's on the field or if it's in the graveyard, you can banish it and then automatically place a copy of Zombie World onto the field. It can't get ashed because it places the card, so it does not search. Very good. Next, we've got Glow Up Bloom. Again, 2 copies of that. Basically, what this card does is if it's sent to the graveyard in any way whatsoever, you can special summon. If you control Zombie World, you can special summon a level 5 or higher zombie monster from your deck. And if you don't control Zombie World, you add the monster to your hand. Also, you're locked into zombie special summons for the rest of the turn, so be very careful when you use this effect. Next, we play 2 copies of Jacko Bulon. This is one of the newer cards. It's not really newer. It came out like a year ago, but in terms of this deck, it's one of the newer cards. Basically, what this card does is you can discard a zombie, special summon it, awesome effect, and then also it is another form of interruption where you can target a zombie in either graveyard and then special summon it, and then it gets banished when it leaves the field. So it's really good because it's an awesome interruption. If your opponent tries to monster reborn one of their monsters, Jacko Bulon, quick effect, take their monster. Yeah, it's just another form of interruption. It's your other option. You either go into him or you go into Doom King Balderok, or sometimes you have both on the field and your opponent doesn't get to play at all. So definitely that. Next, we play 3 copies of Mizuki. Also, disgusting card. If this was in any other archetype, it'd probably be banned. But this is just a super good card. It banishes itself and lets you summon any zombie. With Zombie World, you can literally summon any monster in your graveyard. You can summon a freaking Boral Sword back. You can summon basically anything that was properly summoned. Any crazy big synchro monster that was properly summoned, you can basically summon back for free. Very good card. Next, we play 1 copy of Gozuki. Again, it's just kind of like, it's a decent extender. Sometimes you open it, it's half decent. Generally, I kind of like the card, but definitely Mizuki is better than the Gozuki. Basically, what it does is it lets you, during the main phase, then send a zombie monster to the graveyard. Generally, I like this card more as a follow-up play. And then it has another effect where if it's sent to the graveyard, you can banish another zombie and then special summon a zombie from your hand, which is a little bit, which is just okay. But again, it just requires a lot of setup going on there. Next, we play the most important card in our deck, Shiranui Solitaire, and Unizombie. These are like the cards that you want to see in your opening hand all the time. Shiranui Solitaire is basically another copy of Unizombie. Basically, this lets you tribute it and then summon a zombie from your deck. It's this specific. It's like a zombie tuner with 0 defense. You can summon Unizombie off of the Shiranui Solitaire, or you can summon the Glow of Bloom off of the Shiranui Solitaire. Generally speaking, you will go into the Unizombie, but sometimes late game. Nah, it's not even late game. I guess if you, for some reason, you ran out of Unizombies in your deck, you would go into the Glow of Bloom. But generally speaking, you want to summon the Unizombie because Unizombie can send the Glow of Bloom anyway. But yeah, you summon the Unizombie off of it, and Unizombie is like the best card in the deck. It has one effect where it can target a monster on the field, increase its level by 1, and then discard a zombie from your hand. That effect is really good. And then it has another effect where you can increase a monster's level on the field by 1, and then you can send a zombie from your deck to the graveyard, and then you can't attack with anything that's not a zombie, but that is totally irrelevant because we're playing Zombie World, so every one of our monsters are zombies anyway. So that effect does not even negatively impact us. But this card is honestly like it's easily one of the best cards in the deck, and thank God that we have Shiranui Solitaire. It's like a terraforming for Unizombie. It's really good. And yeah, you always want to see it. We play one copy of Shiranui Spirit Master. This card has a cool effect too, where if you normal summon, you can special summon a Shiranui monster from your hand or graveyard, which is actually sometimes good as a follow-up play if you draw it, because you can special summon the what is it called, the Shiranui Solitaire back. A lot of people forget that effect, but then it has an additional effect where if it's banished, you can pop a card on the field, which that is a half decent effect with the trap card being the Shiranui Swallow Slash. One of the best trap cards in the deck. But definitely, this card's actually pretty good. Don't forget that first effect. Sometimes it comes in handy. Like, sometimes you will discard you have an opening hand, like, where you have, like, Jacko Bulan in your opening hand, so you can discard, for example, you can do a cool trick where you can discard the Shiranui Solitaire, and you still have it normal summon, so you normal summon the Shiranui Spirit Master, and you get the Solitaire back, and then you can go into the Unizombie and all of those plays. So basically, it's like you get an extra body on board. It's actually kind of cool. And then you can, have link plays, make Vampire Sucker with it. It's just you gotta be a little smart. Like, it's not always bad to draw this card in your opening hand. So we play one of that card. But yeah, there's that. And then we play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. It's the best hand trap in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it hits the largest variety of decks. There's not a single deck where you won't find something to hit with this. It's a very good. It might not beat every single deck, but there's always something to hit. Then we play 2 copies of Ghost Spell because they're zombies. And actually, what's good about these zombie hand traps is that they actually trigger the Doom King Balderok too, which is cool. So it's just more fuel to the fire. Also, they're good because you can send them to the graveyard, and then you have Mizuki's in graveyard, and you can summon it back, and then go into a Needle Fiber. There's a lot of synergy here. So they're definitely very good. And then we've got 3 more hand traps, which is the Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill. Thankfully, this deck actually has tons of space. It just has an unbelievable amount of space for hand traps. Tons of space. You don't need a lot to combo off with this deck, and I'll show you as the combos towards the end of the video. You really don't need a lot. So it's very nice that you can play as many hand traps as you want. And then we play 1 copy of Artifact Scythe. Again, that will come up in the combo section. I will explain why we play that. Next, for the spells, we play 1 copy of Terraforming. Searches Zombie World. That's why we play it. 1 copy of Foolish Burial. It's just amazing in the deck. You can basically send any of your zombies, start a bunch of disasters. 3 copies for sure. 3 copies of Super Polymerization. This basically, if you don't know, there's a fusion monster that requires 2 zombies. Zombie World turns everything into zombies. So basically, it makes it so your opponent, it basically makes it so all monsters on the field are zombie, and then you can fusion summon, and you can basically out any 2 monsters in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! As long as they're not unaffected by spells. Which is very good because it turns them into zombies, and you can fuse into that. We played 3 copies of Zombie World. Probably top 5 field spell ever printed. Really, really good. Just because it fuels the deck. On top of it, it is in its own way a little bit of a... It is a floodgate in its own way, oddly enough, because basically what it does is it turns everything in the graveyard and on the field into zombies, which, if you don't know, a lot of decks rely on, like Salamangrates, it relies on Cyburst. You can't, if you don't have Cyburst, it shuts off a ton of your effects. Cyber Dragons. This card is really good against Cyber Dragons because it changes all of your monsters on the field and in the graveyard into zombies rather than machines, and now you can't use machine duplication. Like there's a lot of situations where this deck, just having this card on board, like just this card stops your opponent from playing, which is kind of amazing. Because if your opponent's relying in any way on having their monsters continuously be a certain type, this definitely is very good for it. For those reasons, 2 copies of Rivalry of the Warlords. I don't go too crazy with this card, but it is a very good card. Basically, if you don't know, if your opponent summons any monster, and then you have Zombie World on field, and you activate Rivalry of the Warlords, they cannot summon a monster from their hand, deck, extra deck, except if it's a zombie. So you basically lock them out of all monsters, except for zombies. And what's good is you've already set up your field anyway, and all your monsters are already zombies. So when you activate this, even if you had monsters that were originally non-zombies, they are already zombies on the field, and you have this full board, and your opponent can only basically summon one monster, and they end their turn, you just OTK them the next turn. This card is very, very good in the deck. You just have to be smart when you activate. You can't activate it if you haven't sort of gone through some of your own combos, because you might lock yourself out of your own extra deck. So you got to be careful with it, but I trust you guys. You guys are smart. Next we play 2 copies of Shiranui Swallow Slash. This card's another good one. You tribute a zombie, which isn't even a problem because most zombies float, especially Doom King Balderok. This card's amazing with Doom King Balderok. Basically what this card does is you tribute a zombie, and then you pop 2 cards on the field, and you get to banish a Shiranui monster from your deck, which most of the time you'll banish the Shiranui Spirit Master. So you tribute, for example, the Doom King Balderok, and then you pop 2 cards, then you banish this, you pop another card, and then during the standby phase, none of that matters because the Balderok comes back for free anyway. So you basically get to pop 3 cards, and you get to summon the Doom King Balderok back because he never dies. Now, for the extra deck, very important. We play the Super Poly targets, the Draco Nether Soul, basically any 2 zombies. His effect post that it comes up sometimes, but most time it's just that. Starving Venom, because 2 darks, it's good against Dragoons, good against other things. Predaplant, Chimeraplegia. This card is super good against Dragoon. If you don't know, this card actually is a Super Poly target that beats Dragoon. On top of that, if this card's in your graveyard, you can actually search a polymerization card. You can actually search Super Poly with this card. So you can out a Dragoon and then have this on the field. You can link it away. Next standby phase, you can search Super Polymerization. It's a really, really, really good effect. Yeah, really good. Outs, and it searches Super Poly. Another, I don't know why I put those separately, but another Soul, just because it's better to have 2 of them, just in case you have to go into multiple of them. So that's that stuff. And now for the synchros, you play 1 Cyframe Lord Omega, 1 Chaos Ruler, because it mills a ton of stuff, so if we're in a pinch, not bad to have. Formula Synchron. I'll show you why that's important in the combo. Shiranui Sun Saga. TG Wonder Magician, again, that comes up in the combo. Link Karibo. Crystron Needle Fiber, because it's just an amazing card, summons our tuners to the field. Artifact Dagda. Vampire Sucker. Another copy of Vampire Sucker, one of the best cards in the deck. Again, it'll make sense why I play this stuff in the combo. And then this guy, which is basically a Vendread Slayer. He's basically a Vampire Sucker, but he is kind of for going second. She's more for going first. He's more for going second because he increases attack, and she basically just lets you draw and do a bunch of cool stuff. Yeah, he lets you send a card from deck and increase attack. They both have their own uses in the deck, but let's get to the combo portion. Let me just set this up real quick. Let me just zoom out, and we're all good. I'm going to zoom out, set up the recording here. We're going to do the combos, come up with a few different cool ones. I basically like to show you. But for this first combo, I'll show you the more complex combo first up, just because, I don't know, it's cooler, right? The first combo, the more complex one, is definitely the cooler combo of the 2. For this combo, you basically need a Mizuki, and you need a copy of either Shiranui Solitaire or a copy of Unizombie. So it's basically, this card you play at 3, and this card you basically play at 6. So it's very common that you see it. Yeah, we'll do that. And then on top of that, if you want to make this combo better, this is not, you don't need this. This will just make the combo better. If you have a copy of Zombie World, it will make the combo better. So you don't need this for the combo, but it will certainly make the combo significantly better. So let's do this combo real quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to normal summon the Shiranui Solitaire. We're going to activate the effect of Shiranui Solitaire to send it to the graveyard in order to special summon a copy of Unizombie from our deck. We are now going to activate the effect of Unizombie. We can send a zombie monster from our hand to the graveyard, which will basically increase this card's level by 1. Totally irrelevant, doesn't do anything. If we were going to start synchro summoning or something, that would make a difference, but right now we're not doing that, so that doesn't make a big difference. Next, we're going to use the other effect of Unizombie to send another zombie monster from our deck to the graveyard, which we're going to send another Mizuki. Mizuki is not once per turn at all, so it doesn't even matter. Let me move this out of the way here. Yeah, Mizuki is not once per turn, so it doesn't even matter. We can send as many as we want and use as many as we want. We're going to banish a copy of Mizuki to special summon a copy of Mizuki to the field. We are now going to link these two away in order to special summon a copy of Crystron Needle Fiber. Next, we are going to activate the effect of Crystron Needle Fiber. Activate the effect of Crystron Needle Fiber to summon a tuner from our deck. And with the Crystron Needle Fiber, we are going to special summon a copy of Glow Up Bloom. Next, we are going to use the graveyard effect of Mizuki. We're going to banish the other Mizuki to special summon either Unizombie or Solitaire, doesn't matter which, to summon the Unizombie back to the field. Now from here, we're going to activate the effect of Zombie World, so to make sure it's in play. Again, this combo gets better if we have Zombie World, but it is perfectly doable without Zombie World. It just won't be quite as good. You won't have the protection of a Doom King Balderok, but it's still very usable. Now we're going to link away the Unizombie and the Glow Up Bloom in order to special summon a copy of Artifact Dagda. And now we are going to activate the effect in the following chain of Glow Up Bloom. Since it's sent to the graveyard, we're going to banish it to special summon or add to our hand, but we are definitely going to special summon a level 5 or higher zombie monster. You can actually go for the Jacko Bulan in this situation, or you can go for the Doom King Balderok, but generally speaking, I think Doom King Balderok is a lot better in this situation. So we're going to summon the Doom King Balderok. Again, this combo would still be fine even if we didn't have the Zombie World. We just wouldn't have the Doom King Balderok, or we would just have a Doom King Balderok in hand right now, which isn't, like, it's not usable in hand, but, like, technically speaking, the combo that we're going to do here is still going to be fine. So from here on, if this doesn't look very imposing, we're going to pass our turn. We're going to let our opponent start their turn. As soon as they go into main phase 1, we can activate the effect of Crystron Needle Fiber, banish the Crystron Needle Fiber in order to special summon a tuner from our extra deck. We're also going to chain the effect of Artifact Dagda to the activation of our own Crystron Needle Fiber. So first, the Dagda is going to resolve first because we activated it second, because chain links resolve backwards, to set a copy of Artifact Scythe to our Spawn Trap card zone. So we're going to set that face down. And now we're going to resolve the Crystron Needle Fiber that we banished here in order to special summon a synchro monster from our extra deck. And it counts as a synchro summon. So we are going to summon the TG Hyper Librarian from our extra deck. We're going to activate that TG Hyper Librarian to target our own Scythe. Our Scythe is going to get destroyed. When it's destroyed, it gets to special summon itself back to the field. And now for the rest of the turn, our opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck whatsoever. Now if our opponent has, for example, an impermanence or some way to target and negate this card, or a Widow Anchor, now the Sky Strikers are back unfortunately, we can actually use the effect of TG Hyper Librarian to quick effect synchro if we needed to. But generally speaking, you should hold the synchro summon for later. But you could, if you wanted to, basically avoid it by synchro summoning away. Well, we're gonna basically wait for our opponent to summon a couple more monsters. Don't forget, we have Doom King Balderok to negate additional stuff, banish additional things. All these monsters are zombies, so their activations can basically trigger a banish, a non-targeting banish, and also we can negate an effect. But once our opponent commits to their board, we can synchro summon during our opponent's turn with the TG Wonder Magician into a copy of Shiranui Sun Saga. He is a level 10, 3,500 attack monster that is absolutely going to guarantee the fact that we win the next turn. We're going to activate the Shiranui Sun Saga. We can return zombie synchro monsters from our graveyard or banish pile back to our extra deck, and then pop them any cards our opponent controls. So we can return that TG Wonder Magician back to the extra deck, and that will basically allow us to pop one card our opponent controls. So this has been insane. We basically got to negate a card, banish a card, pop a card. Our opponent can't special summon from the extra deck. Next turn, we're basically have a 3,500 attack monster, 28 and 1,500 attack monster. So whatever they were able to special summon, or whatever they were able to summon, we basically popped, and then the following turn we basically just OTK them just right then and there. Also, if Dagda is destroyed, you can special summon Scythe back to the field, which is pretty cool. So Dagda isn't completely worthless once it's on the field. It actually does recur the Scythe in certain ways. But yeah, this is absolutely, that combo is actually pretty disgusting. And like I said, if you didn't have Zombie World, you just wouldn't have the Doom King. Everything else would be fine. Instead of the Shiranui Sun Saga, you can go into any other level 10 synchro monster, like the Sky Ascension Dragon, or the twin-headed Behemoth or something like that. But basically, we would still be able to scythe our opponent, and we would still have the TG Wonder Magician, so we'd still have a ton of attack on board, and our opponent wouldn't be able to special summon from the extra deck. But of course, the combo is better under Zombie World than without it. Let me show you just one more combo real quick. This next combo requires totally different cards, which is good. Try to mix it up. This particular combo, we are going to use a copy of Unizombie or Shiranui Solitaire. Again, that's like our main combo starter. Thankfully, we have 6 copies of it, essentially. Either of those two, and we need a copy of one of our other combo cards, which is the Necro World Banshee. This can also, if you can get creative, this can also be basically a terraforming or a zombie world. So you can do this combo in a lot of different ways, as long as you're creative. But yeah, we play a ton of copies of both of these cards. But let me show you this combo real quick. Basically, what we're going to do is same thing as last time. Normal summon Shiranui Solitaire, send it to the graveyard in order to summon a copy of Unizombie to the field. Now we're going to activate the effect of Unizombie to discard the Necro World Banshee to the graveyard. If our opponent has some way to like banish this, we can just chain it, and it's a quick effect, but we don't have to activate it, so we're not going to activate it just yet. Okay, so we're going to use the other effect of Unizombie, again, to increase the level, to send a zombie monster to the graveyard. We are going to send a copy of Mizuki to the graveyard. Now, we are going to banish the Mizuki in order to special summon the Necro World Banshee. Now, from here, we can link away the Necro World Banshee and the Unizombie in order to special summon a Crystron Needle Fiber. And we are going to activate the effect of Crystron Needle Fiber, and we can actually chain block by also activating the effect of Necro World Banshee. So we'll do Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2. Our opponent actually cannot ash this card, which is really cool. So we're going to chain block like that. Because again, this card activates directly from deck the Banshee. It doesn't add to hand, which is cool. So now we're going to special summon a tuner from our deck, which will be the Glow Up Bloom. And now we are going to link away. Oh yeah, I forgot to activate the Zombie World directly from our deck with the Necro World Banshee. So we're going to activate the Zombie World. Now we're going to link away the Glow Up Bloom. And from here on in, we're locked into zombies. Summon the Linkuriboh. Activate the Glow Up Bloom. Banish it in order to special summon a copy of Doom King Boulderrock from our deck. Now we can link away the Doom King Boulderrock and the Linkuriboh, since Linkuriboh is a zombie on the field and Doom King is already a zombie, in order to special summon a copy of Vampire Sucker. This combo is going to go Super Plus 2. Both combos go Super Plus. One destroys a ton and floodgates our opponent. This one's just going to go Super Plus and allow us to banish a ton of stuff and draw a bunch of cards. We're going to summon a Vampire Sucker to our side of the field. And this may seem, again, pretty unassuming, but as our opponent's turn starts, we're going to be able to actually start playing. We're going to end our turn. During the standby phase, our Doom King Boulderrock will activate. summoning itself to the field, Vampire Sucker will activate, allowing us to draw an additional card from our deck. So I'm just going to put that as a face down card, because when a zombie monster is summoned from the graveyard, you can draw a card, which is pretty cool. Which you can also do too if your opponent ashed you during any time of that interaction. If your opponent tried to ash you, if you activate like a Terraform, they ashed you, or if you activated like Foolish Burial and they try to ash you, you can activate the Vampire Sucker to summon the ash back to their side of the field, because it's a dead card anyway. It's not going to do anything for them, and then you can additionally draw a card if you wanted to. But since we didn't do that, this is now their standby phase. We draw a card. Now our opponent enters their main phase. We're going to activate the effect of Crystron Needle Fiber, banishing itself to summon a. We're going to summon a Synchro monster from our extra deck, and it counts as a Synchro summon. We're going to summon the Formula Synchron, which will allow us, if we didn't miss timing, to draw an additional card for the Formula Synchron. We are now going to proceed with the turn. We're going to use both the effects of the Doom King Balderdrock, and when basically, once we use those two effects, we can activate the effect of Formula Synchron to Synchro Summon during our opponent's turn. In order to Synchro Summon the Goat, we're going to Synchro Summon a copy of Shiranui Sun Saga back to the field, and we can activate the effect of Shiranui Sun Saga to shuffle the Formula Synchron back into our extra deck. And now we can basically pop an additional card. So off this combo, which was again originally 2 cards, we got a copy of Zombie World. We managed to draw 2 cards, which we don't even know what they are, but it's accumulated card advantage. We got to banish a card, we got to negate a card, and now we got to pop a card, and we have a 3,500 monster on the field. And that's assuming that we didn't have anything else in our opening hand. Like everything else got negated, ashed, whatever. This is still a pretty good board there to end on. Multiple interruptions. And of course, next standby phase, we are going to start the turn, Doom King Balderdrock, activate Vampire Sucker, draw an additional card. Of course, we're going to draw for turn, and it's just the advantage just begins to build. You get into things like Rivalry of the Warlords. You get into things like the Shiranui Swallow Slash, stuff like Super Poly, and the advantage just begins to build. And once you start rolling down that hill, your opponent can't really do anything about it. But that is basically it. I hope you have really enjoyed this video, because I put some serious work into it. But like always, leave a like, subscribe, all that great stuff, and have a terrific day.